It has been, and the whole world is, and when I say the whole world, the United States in terms of higher education, particularly community college education, has had these cycles back and forth between going to college and vocational training, or what we would call applied technology education. And right now, there's no other word for it but a crisis. We have a demographic issue. We simply don't have enough people. This is a nationwide problem. The United States has not replaced its population in terms of fertility rates since 2002. And so there's a dearth of graduating high school students that's put a real focus on this. Obviously, immigration's been back and forth. Most recently, it's been kind of restricted, which has also provided an input of not enough people, and particularly the building and trades, construction trades. So there's just like a collision of forces right now. Many of them are fairly serious demographic ones. But the other issue is that for, right into the 1980s and 90s, it was about getting kids to college. And it typically meant 4-year degrees. It typically meant liberal arts and sciences. And really, the workforce mission of many community colleges took a back seat to transfer education. And there's really other reasons for it too. Transfer education is cheaper. It's easier, it's less complicated.
What does that mean, transfer education?
That's our students that come to us that want to be history majors or education majors or business majors or pre-law, pre-medicine, all the sciences and arts and humanities. And they come to us for anywhere from a year or two, and then they transfer to the 4-year system. And that has been, and still is, a major part of our mission. And the bulk of our enrollment is still that. But obviously we've had to turn our attention back towards workforce because there's such a need for skilled trades, health professions, all these what I call the foundation of American civilization things, all these technical areas, everything from air conditioning and heating to welding and marine and the health professions, which we've always been very strong in. But the college, for a number of reasons, I think backed away from its prior commitment to skilled trades. So I was hired back in 2018 with a real emphasis to come back to that. So ever since, we've been trying to allocate new resources, allocate existing resources to support that mission, which had been largely allowed to atrophy a little bit. There's a lot of challenges. First of all, applied technology education is a very expensive business. You have to have laboratories, you have to have equipment. One of the biggest challenges is finding qualified faculty. We simply can't compete with the private sector for some of these trades areas where journeymen and master technicians are making, in some cases, 6-digit incomes. And it's really hard for us to compete. Now we do eventually get there, but sometimes it takes multiple searches, and that's always a challenge. Many of our part-time faculty, and that's where we're really heavily staffed right now, are not available until the evening hours. So that means that almost all of our scheduling is after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So we're working against that. We're finding good faculty, but that is obviously one of the things that we could. For example, I could teach far more welding classes if I had more faculty, and then it's finding the resources to provide the funding for their salaries and compensation and benefits. But we're making headway there. The grants are helping with this. In addition to the $1.2 million we're getting from the feds through the earmark grant program, through congressional funding, we also got $1.5 million from our counties through Governor Hogan's Rural Economic Development grants. 4 of our 5 counties funded us, various pieces of this, including in addition in Dorchester, we got specific funding to expand our CDL truck driving program for Class B certifications for truck driving. This is buses and dump trucks. Yeah. So a real need for school bus drivers. Our neighbors in Anne Arundel, they actually had to transfer a lot of students to walking because they simply could not staff the school buses that they need. Haven't heard that we have that kind of problem on the Eastern Shore, but school bus drivers are in high demand, but also what we call straight trucks, non-articulated vehicles, your grain transportation, your delivery trucks, those are Class B licenses, and obviously in high demand for agriculture, small business, a lot of our construction firms, and of course our counties. They have all kinds of needs for CDL certifications for the things that they're doing with road maintenance and all the other things that counties do. So Dorchester actually is giving us funding for leasing a site for training, which we're trying to get that arranged as we speak, finding faculty, and buying vehicles to actually expand our CDL program to Cambridge. And it's job security. These are not jobs that are going to be outsourced, and they're right here on the Eastern Shore as well as everywhere else. And there's just I think it's almost reversed. Now, I still don't think parents, particularly parents, when they're thinking about their students, that they want them to go to college, they're thinking about the laboratory, or the garages and the industrial facilities of the past. That's not the way it is anymore. Go to an auto dealership. The floors are polished. They're working with high-end equipment. Computer science is everywhere. IT is a function of almost everything anymore, including HVAC. And so it's a very different working environment where it's high skill, high compensation, and it's very secure. So I don't think there's a stigma anymore. I think anymore it's really about publicizing and making students and parents aware of those opportunities so that they can start thinking about this, not in 11th grade, but in 8th and 9th grades, when they have to start thinking about the kind of technical education they're going to need. We're talking about arithmetic. You know, they need to know their decimals. They need to do mensuration. One of the biggest challenges, I think, to many students in these fields is they've got to have some pretty strong STEM skills. They have to know their way around computers. They have to know their way around how to measure stuff. So I think those are the challenges overall that are just kind of dumped in this big bucket. It's not really the stigma anymore. It's about what you need to do to get there, to get these high-paying jobs. COVID, we're calling it learning loss, and a tremendous impact, particularly in those key grades, first grade, fourth grade, middle school, and in high school. Some really big impacts with the going to remote. And now what we're hearing is that in many situations they're getting caught up, and you know, we're repairing the damage, but it's going to be a long-term impact. The other issue that happened, aside from the academic, is the socialization, and students losing track of how to interact with others. You know, I know that public schools are dealing with that. They're actually trying to have to work with students to get them back into interacting with each other outside of social media, interacting with adults. You know, athletic coaches are having to deal with, you know, kids that just forgot how to interact in a social environment outside of their phones or their computers. Well, I think recruitment and retention are continuing to be real focuses for us. We have a new grant, another one, a really major grant, Upward Bound, which is a federal program through the Department of Education. The college had it years ago and we lost it. We got it back. We got 3 grants, which was exceptional. These are multi-million-dollar grants over 5 years. They're perpetual in that if you do your job and you meet the compliance requirements of the grant, it's refunded over and over again. So we're in 3 of our 5 sending counties, including Kent, Caroline, and Talbot. We're working directly with our high schools, our sending high schools. We start in 8th grade, recruiting students with their parents. So during the school year, there's advising, there's tutoring, there's other kinds of activities to really provide the foundation for students that are eligible to go to college but simply don't have the social capital to get there on their own. These are families that are socioeconomically challenged. They come from underserved populations, and Upward Bound can be a game changer. We had actually the founder of Upward Bound on our campus. He was a founder of Upward Bound and Head Start, working with the Lyndon Johnson administration, the War on Poverty, the Great Society. He was a major fixture in that whole movement, and it was lovely to have him on campus interacting with our staff. I think it's 60 students a year from each high school, beginning in 8th grade, but all the way through 12th grade, getting them to college. And they can go anywhere. They can go to University of Maryland. We hope that we get a certain number of them will come to Chesapeake. But it's a very powerful program, and we're glad to have it back. With what we have in our society right now, with a shortage of people in all the professions, and it's coming to business and law and medicine and teaching, we have to get everybody to post-secondary education to deal with the challenges this country faces. And we have to take advantage of every possible resource. And that